Goody, goody. Hey, everybody. Hey, if you are tuning in right now at the top of this show, this podcast is called That Shift, and how you heard it is exactly how I meant it for the episode and what you take from it. But only take what you need, leave what you don't. This is a business podcast talking about things relative to entrepreneurship, small business ownership, from the infancy stages and on. And I typically share this podcast with friends, family, and sometimes just me and my thoughts about different things. It is unedited, it is unfiltered, very raw and transparent, and it is live. So if you are tuned in by way of a social media platform, Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, say hey in the comments. I can see you. And if I don't see you for whatever reason, your comment or your question, charge it to my head and not my heart. So if I have to follow up and say hey or good morning to you, I love doing that too. So if you are, though, tuned in and you're listening, let me know that you're here so I can love on you in a good and proper way. Today, I really want to talk about the ethics and our very own set of ethics, morals, and values when it comes to business, when it comes to leading in the business as whether it's a CEO, whether it's a president, whether it's just a proprietor, um, or leading the thought process or being a thought leader in the space that you're in your field of zone of genius, or whether it's just leading your business to a different level through decisions, through opportunities, being in alignment and what that looks like and feels like, and the importance of professional development that you're getting by way of coaching or consulting or some sort of programming or traditional education, uh, and aligning that with personal development and just tapping into who you are and what is important to you and what has value to you and what helps you sleep at night. Like what feels good in your bottom belly when it comes down to what's being done and said around you. And this particular topic um, was inevitable. I've had several conversations with friends that are in the entrepreneurial space in the same industry, as well as those who are in different industries, about no being a complete sentence. Some opportunities not necessarily being opportunities, but just being chances, or happenstances, or sometimes even distractions. Some things are not opportunities, they are there to take you off the beaten path and to question how far are you willing to go? How much are you willing to sacrifice? How how committed you are to the outcome. And if the outcome is monetary, if the outcome is revenue, then sometimes we are in two minds about it. You know, how do we make this decision? If there's an opportunity that's 4, 5, 6 figures, you know, how much are we willing to compromise ourselves for that money? How much is on the line? What do we believe to be on the line? And sometimes that's made up, you know, that we have to make this money, and we have to move our business from 0 to 7 figures because that's what you're supposed to do. That's growth, that's scaling, that's generational wealth. But sometimes that's not necessarily what it should be. Sometimes the majority of us really could have a good life and not make six figures. I know that's an unpopular opinion. Can you have a better life? Can you do more things? Can you be happier because you have the capacity to do more? Absolutely. But can you pay your bills? And this is it being a moderate living. Can you pay your bills? Can you eat? Can you provide a roof? Can you moderately take care of your social needs or wants and family? Absolutely. Now, for some, that could be 50,000 and they can live a good life. And for others that might be, you know, 99,000, you know, but can you really do it in a way that doesn't necessarily mean you need all of the things all of the time. But because of that, and based on our goals, based on our objectives, based on our experiences, our upbringing, we set these goals. And when things come up, sometimes they are legitimate opportunities. Sometimes they are just a chance to be involved, a chance to be engaged with a certain community, a chance to learn something. But not knowing what that is depends on our systems, our values, our morals, our ethics. And I've been talking to friends about a particular situation that happened, and I was upset for some time about it because it was probably the biggest, arguably the biggest decision that I had to make relative into being in alignment with who I am now, or even as a person. I think I've always been the same person. In business, I've always been the same person. I have always wanted and made honest efforts. Now, have I been perfect with it? No, but made honest efforts to do good business, to be fair, to be kind, to find a happy medium between all parties involved. Yes. And this was the first time, particularly in this business, in the business that I'm in now, in the business that I'm operating now, that I had to think about it. And the way it played out was I was given what I believed at the time an opportunity to work on a really big city impact kind of project. It was a top down from the city, and a lot of players involved, a lot of names involved, some that I knew well and personally, and some not so much. And I believed it would help me to know them. And the role I was given was right in my, right in my ministry. Like I felt good about being in this role. Excuse me. And also I felt good about being asked to be in the role. And I think sometimes what I've experienced just for me and with friends that I've heard, sometimes being asked to do something is more special than the actual opportunity, to be included, to be seen, to be heard, to be wanted, especially if you are an entrepreneur or you're a small business owner and you have a niche of some sort, or that you are one of many in a particular zone of genius or skill, and to be asked specifically to be involved in something is exhilarating. It's very exciting. It's a very unique moment when it happens. And I was asked to be part of this project. And for all intents and purposes, I was really excited. But once the project really kind of got underway, I didn't like the person that was leading the project, the voice of the outcome, the voice that would deliver the outcome to the community. I didn't like the way they were speaking to me, and I didn't like I didn't like the tone. I didn't like the actual words. I didn't like the expectation of my response. I didn't like the ignorance of the conversation in and of itself. And I was offended. I was really offended that that's where we were. And it happened a couple of times, actually, a few times. And I'm noting now my response was, I'm not doing this with you. I don't have it to do. I'll take what I need and I'll leave what I don't from the conversation. And that's that. That's it. That's all. But when it continued, I was like, this is an unhealthy workspace. This is going to go bad. While in general, I'm a chill person, most things don't bother me because different personalities, I'm pretty fluid. I'm cool if, this something is not your jam, but it's my jam. Or you disagree and I agree. I can agree to disagree. Like most things in real life don't really bother me. I'm completely unbothered by a lot of stuff. If it does not change the outcome, if it does not directly impact the ability to be successful, I don't care. How you carry on throughout, have at it. But when the attitude, when the behavior positions me to think about, do I like you or not? Do I like the way you're speaking to me? Do I feel like you don't value my contribution, or you don't care? That's a whole different thing, right? That is different, because now the outcome, is going to be impacted, because I'm not going to show up as my full self. I don't want to be here. That's just what it is. I don't want to be here. And if I don't want to be here, you're going to know, you're going to feel it, which is going to continue your attitude, because now you're not getting, what you need from me. And so now it turned bad. And, it's one of those things where there's smoke, there's fire, right? And I remember one particular conversation, my first thought was, who are they talking to? It just cannot be me, because the way they were talking to me is to assume that I was stupid. And that's not okay. Don't do that. I am following you. I just don't like what you're saying, and I don't agree. And I don't think, if I have the role and the otherwise responsibility to do something, allow me the opportunity to do it. When you asked, and we're jamming out and kind of unpacking what this could be, allow me the opportunity to do my part. So when you take that from me, why am I here? So this happened a few times, and then the role was kind of minimized, and someone else was given the responsibility of it. And at the same time, my contributions were not enough, not good enough, wouldn't work, a lot of negative feedback. However, those same ideas, those same things were ultimately used by this new person, and they were thumbs up, right? So now I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed because this is when, for me, who I am came to be. How do I want to handle this? How do I legitimately nip this in the bud, call a thing, because I'm not feeling like this is going to be a conversation that's going to be received well. I am, sharing a space with a person who's led by ego. They want to be the boss. They want to be my boss. They want to be everybody's boss. And so anything that I say that takes away from who they believe that they are is going to be a problem. So a conversation is not going to happen. It's not going to go well. And so I decided what's best for me is to completely step away. I don't want to be involved. I'm not interested. I don't want to contribute. I don't want to add or subtract from anything that's being done. I just don't want to do it. And so I decided to step away from the project. I thought that when I'm thinking about alignment of who I am, because this can go from me sitting in on a meeting with that person or in mixed company and just listening, making my notes, making my assessments, but in the same conversation, completely cussing them out for old and new and something to come to. It was getting there. And with this mixed company, so either two things were going to happen. In an individual conversation, a one-to-one, it was going to be a match. It was going to be a match. And it was going to be the narrative that I am difficult to work with and that I didn't understand what the project and I could not deliver, right? I am not the person for the job. And the reason being, it was my attitude. And, it was going to be all kinds of things added to that story. All kinds of things. And I would never get an opportunity to correct that narrative. And some, because, again, this top-down project, because I knew some folks but not others, that message would be received differently. Some, it would be straight out, we're going to take your word for it because you are the lead. You are this voice of this project. And for others, it would be, I can't believe, but maybe, potentially, possibly, Kenyana behaved this way. Or, this is true, if not all, some. And then you might have one or two that'll say that sounds wild. That sounds crazy. It's unlikely. I don't believe it. But that's kind of presuming who this person was going to talk to. So that's one situation where it's just a one-on-one. If it's in a mixed company, now this feedback is or this narrative, not feedback, but narrative is created by multiple people. And the funny thing about reacting in real time is that 99.99% of the time, no one yet knows what happened before. They just know what's happening now. And in a lot of the rooms that I'm in, I am the only Black woman. So now I'm the angry Black woman who is cussing somebody out. They don't know why I'm cussing somebody out. And if they have never met me before this or worked with me in this capacity, I look crazy. I look absolutely nuts. So that's one way it could play out. So I decided what would be the most believable to anyone hearing this at any point of what happened, and the most believable in any way the narrative is stretched, is I walk away. I throw my hands up and say, you have at it. Be great. That's more believable no matter who's telling the story. Whether it was, you know, a chill version of it, she walked away and they don't know why and they have no backstory to that, to she aborted mission and what have you, to she just stopped communicating, like just stopped. And however they wanted it to play out. But either way, it was what made the most sense for who I am is I'm not doing this with you. I don't have to. I don't want to. This is not my problem. This is a you problem. This isn't a me problem. So, but it was an upset. I would not devalue the fact that it was an upset for me. It was an upset that I was even in that position. There was an upset that someone tried it. There was an upset that someone took my person and how I communicate, which is not aggressive. I'm not an aggressive communicator at all. I'm literally on chill most of the time. So for someone to take that and make it out to be that I was passive and try to make me passive aggressive, it pissed me off. It really did. And while I have not yet seen this person, we are in the same spaces. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. I do not know how the project ended. I did not support it. I did not physically support it by going to the series of events. I did not financially support it by sponsoring or doing anything of that way, or engaging in anything that might have been paid. I did not socially support it. I didn't share it. And that was a thing. How are you going to do this in a way that feels good for you? Even if there's some upset, how are you going to handle that? Because this is work. This is work. Part of my brand, and when we're thinking about branding, thinking about it as your business personality or the personality of your business, it is not to be involved in no kind of drama or foolishness. I don't do it with competitors. I don't do it internally with anyone that is working in any way, interns and anything, any kind of shared work space with folks. I don't. And a lot of that is aligned with my person, but my brand is all about get the work done. Focus on the work, focus on the outcome, focus on the impact. That is the brand narrative. So I cannot be out here in these streets acting crazy. That takes away from the brand itself. Right. And when it comes to, my personal morals and values, that plays a role into, opportunities as well. I saw that as an opportunity. Looking back, I think the way it was designed, the way it was structured as far as a top-down approach, it was not an opportunity for me. And now with projects, that is a question. What is the structure? How am I communicating and with whom? And with the communication, are there deliverables? And how are those deliverables being um, delivered? How are they being received? How are they being reviewed? How are they being critiqued? That determines if it's an opportunity for me. If it is so finite as far as the structure where I don't have creative control or creative agility, then it's not an opportunity. It's not an opportunity. It's a chance. It's a chance to be involved. It's a chance to show whomever what I got. But it's not necessarily an opportunity. And I think that's the thing when it comes to thinking about ethics and thinking about opportunities, really tapping into what do you consider an opportunity based on where you are in your business. Because there are times when we're in our business and we're just focused on networking. We're focused on casting the net wide. We're focused on folks learning who we are and what we do and how we do it and why we are so good at it. And then those opportunities look like being able to be in earshot or view of folks that can work with us, partner with us, collaborate with us, sponsor us. That looks different when it comes to opportunities. And we have different questions of how this is an opportunity. And then on the other side of that, when it's an opportunity to say we're not in the marketing phase. We're not trying to just get as many folks to learn about us and our project and our offers and those things, but we are in a space of we need to sell it now. You know who we are. You've been exposed to who we are. You've been introduced. You've been given some sort of good and proper introduction by way of social media post or a live or some in-person event or tabling, whatever it is. You know who we are. Now let's kind of talk about how I can help you, how we can help you, how we can do these things by way of telling you about our offers, telling you about our products and our services and the problems that they solve and the problem that we believe that you have and why this particular business or company can help you solve that problem. And this is how much it is. Sometimes we're in that phase. And when we're in the phase of selling, the opportunity looks different to that too. That looks like, yes, who's all in the room, but who all is willing and able to buy or pay for this thing? I have these products. Can they buy them? I have these services. Can they pay for them? And so for me, with that particular opportunity that I was just talking about, it was a marketing. It was not to sell anything. It was, I really want to tap into the folks that I have not yet met. The folks that are in roles that used to be somebody else's, either pre-COVID or just life. Life was lifing and folks got promoted. They moved up or around or out of a company, and now there's a new role or new person in an old role. And I knew the person that was in the original role, and now they're at a different, company, or they're doing something completely different. And now I want to meet the ones that will be making decisions for this company or this group of folks. So it did feel like an opportunity to meet those folks and to give them a glimpse of what I could do, given the opportunity, what I could do. Not for them to buy anything from me, but for them to just know that I'm here and I exist and I can work with a group of folks as a collective, like I work well with others, but then I also can work with a budget of that capacity. So that in my head is what made it an opportunity. But the structure of it made it a chance because when it came down to how it was structured, whether something got the thumbs up or the thumbs down was based on someone's opinion, not even a collective, on one person's opinion, and if they liked or disliked whatever it is that they saw. Now, even though arguably they were not a super in marketing, however, they were the lead. And so the way they structured it is if they didn't like it, it never even made it to the folks that I'm thinking in my head is going to get to meet me or get an opportunity to meet them. So with that, it became a chance, right? It was never going to yield what I thought it was going to yield because I was never given the space for anything to be laid out. So that's when it came down to, now I've identified that this is not an opportunity. What sits right with me? What's good for my soul? What's good for my spirit? How bad do I want this? Do I just want to be able to add this to the list of groups or programs or organizations or initiatives and say, I did this, and have people or folks believing that I did more than I did, or I contributed more than I did, or that some of the things that they're seeing relative to marketing completely out of alignment with what I'm doing because it's not even created by me. It was created by somebody else. I was just asked to support what was being done and to be a part. So I went from leading this to following this. That took away my opportunity to be great. I'm not, in my mind, humbly, I'm not in a space in my business where I just want to be a part of something. I want to be part of an impact of something, but I don't want to just be in company. Like, I'm not in that space of, I'm just happy to be here. I am happy to be here, but I'm happy for what this can be for me and my business where it is at the 5-year mark, right? So, that was a real thing for me. And then when it came down to the personal stuff, how do I want to handle someone talking to me crazy? Talking to me like they were not in their right mind? Do I have to take that? And if the answer is no, then don't. With projects, I think we as entrepreneurs and small business owners forget the power of no. We forget that no is a complete sentence. We forget that we do until we don't, that we have options. We always have the option to opt out. If something changes, if the behaviors change in a project, especially in a collaboration or partnership where it changes and it forces you to change who you are and what you need to get done, all bets are off. Everything changed. I was in agreement with what was originally said and the attitude that was presented to me. It was very positive. It was very enthusiastic. It was very optimistic. And I was like, oh, count me in twice. I'm here for it. Let's do all the things. But when the attitude changed, when the project started and it became a boss, and now This is no longer a collaboration. This is, I'm going to tell you what I want, and then I want you to create that thing. Now that's not what we were talking about. I'm no longer in alignment. I'm no longer good with that. And it is something that I think about. I've been talking to friends, and I'm not always the one talking. I'm not always the one talking. Sometimes I'm just listening, contrary to popular belief when it comes to things that are brought up in episodes here. But they are real things. And sometimes it comes down to morals and ethics when it comes to the dynamics of relationships. Um, as a female entrepreneur, oh, yeah, there's always um, conversations that are appropriately inappropriate, if that makes sense, where the conversation, if heard from the outside, is one thing, and everyone is understanding what's being said, but the underlining conversation is meant for something else. There's different pressures as far as sustaining. And I am a strong believer in how you do things in business is how you do things in real life. It's almost like an life imitating art. You cannot operate a business, run a company, run a firm, lead an organization, and be a completely different person than you are in real life. It's not a thing. You are who you are. And if it is down to a role, if we're all playing a role in our business, it's based on what we believe to be a thing. If we are underhanded in real life, and it doesn't have to be flat out, you're not a good person, but you cut corners, or you find shortcuts, or you are dismissive about all of the moving parts. That's who you are, and that's how you will be in business. That is why, and it's an unpopular opinion, and there were some heavy thoughts about it, but that's why you still have folks that are more of a hustler in their business than they are a business owner. And whether that's a good or bad, depending on what they have going on, that's not the conversation that I want to have, at least right now. But who you are, who is who you are. Can people change? Absolutely. Can business make you change? Sure. But business can also make you change for the worst, because there's now stuff on the line. If you, we all need the money. And if it's down to getting or not getting some revenue, yeah, we think about it. What we ultimately decide now, whether it's a fast no or slow yes, we think about it. It's, what does this really mean? Unless it's just something that we're just like, you got to be kidding. Like, this is not funny. Where it's a hard, fast, absolutely not. And that's usually having to do with maybe some sort of proposition or something like that. But if it's like, how bad can it be? What's the worst can happen? Yeah, cross our mind. It does. And we make a decision. But the decision, not the process of making a decision, we're all human, but the actual decision is who we are, at least who we are in life at that moment. And that's where that can change, because if you decide, you know what, I'm looking at the decisions I've made in the last 5 years, the last 10 years, and they were not good decisions, or they were not the best decisions, and I want to do better. Can we start changing that in our business? Absolutely. We're thinking about things completely different. But in a moment that you make a decision, that's who you are at that moment. Now, whether you stay that person, say you are, or you strive to be a good person. I strive to be a good person. I want to be a good person. For me, when this is all over, I want friends, I want family, I want, folks I've engaged with in the target line, to say, you know what, Kenyana was a nice person. She always appeared to be a good person. From the decisions that she made personally with me, or on account of her business, or in how she, interacts. Yes, I believe she was a good person, in the time that I knew her. So if that's the goal, it's always going to be a challenge to stay a good person, especially when you run into situations like the one I mentioned earlier in this episode. Yes, it crossed my mind several times to cuss her out. I mean, just let her have it, completely let her have it, and to do it in a way that she remembers how she got it. However, did I want that? Did I want that to be the memory? Because we're going to cross paths again. And that's the thing too, when it comes to your value system, your baseline, who you are, you're going to cross paths with people, folks, again, in the same capacity or different. And it's to test, in my opinion, it's to test you to see if you really are about that life. Do you still feel good? Can you hold your head up when you see them? Do you feel like I did what was necessary? And because of that, whether they like me or not, whether they like what I said or did or not, they can respect the fact that you made a decision that had everything to do with you. The person that I mentioned, of course, we're going to run into each other again. How that interaction is going to go, I don't know. Maybe she cares, maybe she doesn't. And she has every right to not give a damn. Hey Mo, hey. But I do believe it is a test, yes. To see, are you still the same person? And do you stand in what you said? Are you who you say you are? So and that happens the same when we don't make the best decision. When we make a decision that's out of alignment, we run into the same folks. And that's why when we do something that's out of alignment, say we are with the shortcuts right now in life, we just need to make this money, or we need to do this thing. We're going to run into those folks again, and they're going to make the same offer. That's the funny thing about all of that. They're going to make the same offer because you're with the shift. You're with it. They know you to be with it. And so if you are a different person, that conversation is going to look different. But if you're still in that, you know what, I might need this right now, you'll stay in that loop. So it's really important, and that's what plays into trust, trusting who you are, for other folks to trust who you are, to trust how you'll behave, to trust how you'll engage and interact, and how you'll make decisions. That'll determine if they work with you, if they want to work for you, if they want to buy from you. Do they trust you to be who you say you are? And that's also plays into your reputation. People believing what you see. And we're in this time where not everybody is who they say they are. They are one person or one type of leader on social media. You know, they look amazing. They look fun. They look like they are just a good person to be around. They look like the family person. And then in real life, they are not. And we see that a lot in business. A lot in business. You know, some shiny graphics. Or not even so much shiny, that sounds weird, but like a really nice graphic, a really nice photo, um, a really nice uh, image of something that they're engaged in, and we feel like I want to connect with this person, and then you connect with them and they are not who they say they are. And the funny thing about reputation, I've always said, um, yes, there are a lot of folks that they're not who they say they are. Mo, I agree with you. And I always feel like in business, it's not who's the best that survive. You know, and it's always subjective who's trash and who's not, who's good and who's not. You know, who is actually uh, the best at something and who's not. But the game is not about who's the best because that's subjective. You know, when you look at reviews, you know, one reviewer says, "This is amazing. This changed my life. I've introduced it to friends and family. I am I am forever a client or a customer of this person or this company." And then you have in the same thread someone saying, "Absolutely not. It was a trash experience. 1 star. Don't like it. We'll never do it again. And I'm not telling nobody else about it." So it's subjective. But who really sustains in the end is who stays in the longest. And when it comes in who stays in the longest, who we buy from people. We don't buy from companies. They're run by people. You know, they're run by either an individual, if you are a proprietor, or they're run by a group of individuals. If you're not, if you have employees, it's a group of people, and we have to like those people. We have to like how they communicate with us. We need to like, you know, how they do things, how they say that they do things. We buy into people, and we buy into who we believe someone is. If they are in alignment with who we are, if you know, I was saying in a different episode that a coach that I went with was because she was a Virgo. That's how I did it. That was it. That was all. Um, I found I liked her because of that. Now, what she was offering, um, I hadn't even thought about that yet. Like I understood what she was offering, but as far as like if she was the best, did I shop around? No, no. I thought that she was very engaging in that she was over delivering. I went to a webinar, I believe, or a live stream. I can't remember, but she was on camera and she's very engaging, and she was very much what I look for in a hey girl hey. She pronounced my name correctly, which was a thing for me, and she was a Virgo, and I have followed her since. So we buy from people. So what we do on and off screen, it gets around, and the longer you're in the business, and really the determining factor of how long you're in the business is how you do business, how you do things, how you carry yourself, how you love on folks or not. Are we putting, what are we prioritizing? What are we putting first? And that determines how long we are in business. And it plays into our personal stuff too. That's why I say with professional development, you need personal development, because it takes a lot of personal development to stay who you are, to stay, what we would like to call nowadays 10 toes down. Like, it takes a lot because there's always something that makes you question. It could be, a project that we're gauging if it's an opportunity or not. It can be in dating, how much capacity am I now having or not based on who I'm seeing or spending time with. This could be platonic or romantic, when it comes to spending time with folks. Are they allowing me to be great? Are they giving me the space and grace and opportunity to get my work done? How are they supporting me? Does that look like showing up? Does it look like giving space? Does it look like physically? What do we need to do? Let's mind map this on the wall with some Post-it notes. Those things are really important, and it plays into our capacity when it comes to saying yes or no. And it's okay to say no. I've probably said no more than I've said yes. And we always hear about it in spaces of we hear no more than we hear yes. But I think it's important to also document what you're saying no to and why. And when those things come up again, you can identify them. You can look at the similarities, the things that are so similar. You're like a fast no. This is a trigger for me. Or things that are dissimilar, and you can say, you know what, this might be a little different. And what questions should you ask now? I ask a lot of questions with projects now. I really need to know not what's in it for me. I know what's in it for me if I structure it properly on my end and I put a strategy to it. But can I be great in that space? That is a big thing. And how do you allow me to be great? Am I going to grow? Is this more for you than it is for me? And of course, I don't ask in that way. That's not nice. But who's winning? If this is about having a collaboration and you leaning in on my folks, my constituents, then what's in it for me? Do we even have the same constituents? That's the biggest question. Do we even have the same market? Are we talking to the same folks about the same thing? Because if we're not, we've been kind of conditioned to say, well, I'm going to tap into a new market. But is that part of your plan? Is that part of your business plan? Is that part of your marketing plan to stretch into this market? If you serve teenagers, if the folks that you are designing offers for, products and services, is for teenagers, and you collaborate with a company that serves elderly, the argument, if not the excuse of why you're investing, is to tap into that market. Make it make sense, and those are questions that are not for the public. That's not, it's not something that you have to go to your social media and do a live and say, what y'all think. This is a personal, private space, whether you're doing meditation or whether you're doing prayer or whether you're just sitting in silence and mapping this out on a piece of paper. That's always a jam too. A good pro and con list can get you every time, can get you right every single time. And just say, does this make sense? And taking out, does it make sense to you? Then doing the same thing. Does this make sense for your business? Because it's, again, its own entity. It has different goals. It has different objectives. It has different focuses. It has different priorities than you personally. You and your business are not the same, and they should never be the same. When you're thinking about your business, you are running your business and you're operating and you're making decisions on behalf of your business, but you are not your business. And the government don't see you as the same. You're not the same. So with that in mind, does this make sense with my personal brand of who I am, my personality? And when I run into someone at Target is my jam. I use that as an example of everything. But if I run into someone at Target, and even though they might know what I do, they might know my role, they might even know where I'm at. Say I am the CEO and founder, of 8118. Say they know that much. But when we're talking about, something that I found and like a new cereal in the cereal aisle, who am I? And that's my personal brand, who I am. But does it align with my business brand, which is my business personality? Does that make sense? And sure, there's some things that are similar, because you are still making decisions on behalf, but though them being two different things, does it make sense for the two involved? And it's something you have to really think about and think about often. With every shift in your business, it has to be a question of who am I now? There was a trending quote about Beyonce. You don't have to be, I think you don't have to be kind, but you have to be fair. Don't quote me, but it stays in my mind as far as just being fair. My takeaway from that is being fair. So in that case, it's more of like, am I being fair to myself? Can I do this again? Am I comfortable doing this again? Whatever this is, if it's an opportunity, a chance, or what have you, am I comfortable doing this again? Because for me, sometimes the goal or one of the goals is that I am going to stretch my capacity, meaning I'm going to do some work and it's going to be dope and folks are going to see it and they're going to like it and they're going to want to work with me. But 9 times out of 10, they're going to ask me to do the same work that was just done. So that's always the question. Am I comfortable doing this again? And it's more than likely I'll be willing to do this thing again, but at a higher price point. So if I'm doing some shifty stuff and I'm asked to do it again for more money, I'm going to stay doing shifty stuff. Like it's going to be shifty times every time because I'm with it. I'm with the shift. So, you have to really think about that, and really spend some time on that and be okay with no's. You can say no, even though you might be in the infancy stages or in a place where, you're not in a feast, you're in a famine, in your business, or potentially can be in a famine if you don't take something. The idea of saying no have to be recalibrated in your mind, that if you say no to this, it gives you the agility to say yes to something else. And with that, what does that yield for you? So, with that being said, just tap into who you are. Know that you can do what you want. You can do all the things, and one company, one organization, one school, one whatever does not make or break whether you're going to be successful. If anything, if you say no to the right thing, you are winning. You're winning. Point blank period, you're winning. And even though it doesn't necessarily sit that way immediately, um, it's okay. It will. And when, it comes down to, say, a company was doing some shifty stuff and they're no longer in business for whatever reason, did you really want to be tied up with that foolishness? Did you really want to be a part of whatever's happening or had happened? So that's a whole nother set of conversations that can be had with that, but I won't hold you. I do want to thank the folks that I see you. I see a number. I don't necessarily see names. Mo, I see you, girl. I see you. Um, but I won't hold you. I do want to bid you a good day and to thank you for listening in. And I will see you or talk to you tomorrow. This show runs Monday through Friday, 8:30. So tomorrow is Friday. Today is Friday Eve for those who are listening in live. Hey Sandra, hey. So have a good Friday Eve, and I'll talk to you tomorrow morning.